I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnne. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
Are your ulcerative colitis symptoms proving difficult to manage? Tremfya guselkumab can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. At 1 year, many patients taking Tremfya achieved clinical remission, and some patients also achieved endoscopic remission. Individual results may vary. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Ask your doctor if Tremfya can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more, or visit tremfyaradio.com.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of FranCoach's Franchising 101 podcast. I am Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO of FranCoach and your podcast host. So today we want to talk about something we certainly discussed over the years on this wonderful podcast, but goodness gracious, we are like somewhere in the 220s episodes, so it's been a while. And I think with the new year, it is always a good idea to talk about one of the biggest kind of fears and misconceptions in franchising, which is how much money does this take? Does it take millions of dollars to invest in a franchise? So we're going to chat about that here in a second. But as always, a quick reminder of who we are. FranCoach is a national search firm dedicated to working with individuals like yourselves interested in owning a franchise. Our number one goal is to help properly educate you on all things about franchising to determine if this is the path for you. And if so, we're then going to help you find your absolute best franchise to own. That's a little bit about us. Now let's talk about money. Does it take millions of dollars to invest and own a franchise? In a short answer, no. Okay, well, that's our show. So there's no such thing as a short answer in franchising. I mean, there is, but like we're not going to give it to you. We talk for a living. So, but there's also things tend to be more nuanced in franchising. So the common thing when people just like the first time maybe even thinking about a franchise, or you happen to share with somebody in your circle, you're like, hey, I'm kind of thinking about owning a franchise. Like, what are you going to do? McDonald's, Taco Bell, like maybe a Subway? What are we looking at? Yes, those are franchises. Yes, those are the ones that tend to pop into people's minds right off the bat. And yes, those do take millions of dollars to own. But those are kind of the high end of the spectrum. I mean, like there are some things a little higher. Like if you want to own like a Hilton or something, that might be 10 to 20 million, right? But the thing, and most people don't even realize hotels are franchises, but we get that the food things are. But in general, in franchising, the thing I always want to get across is that franchise ownership is significantly more attainable than you might realize. Yes, McDonald's, Taco Bell, those big standalone food things do take millions of dollars to get into, but the majority of franchises out there are a fraction of that. So that range can be anywhere from millions of dollars to, I'm going to say there are some things that probably are sub 100,000, but really not very many. And I try to kind of like treat those as outliers. So I'm going to tell you anywhere from maybe 100,000 to several million dollars. And again, everywhere in between. The easy analogy we like to use is buying a house. So when people go to buy a house, again, there are ranges. There's the, cute little fixer-upper in Wichita, Kansas, and then there's the mega mansion on the coast of, Malibu or something, and everywhere in between. Are there people out there that go to buy a house and they just pay cash? yeah, let me just stroke you a check for, 2.3 million. I'm sure that happens, but for the rest of us, right? Let's come back to the rest of us in this situation. How do we buy a house? Cash for the down payment, and then we get a loan for the rest. So if you can just think, there are other funding options besides loans and franchising. There are times people just self-fund franchises. But again, the majority of it is just like a house. Do I have enough cash for the down payment? Can I get a loan? Right? And we've done numerous things on here about SBA loans, unsecured loans, the rollovers, all of those different things. And part of our process with clients is getting people connected to those folks, the funding people. But if you can think about that, and so usually 20 to 30% of the loan amount you need in cash. So again, can sometimes you buy a house for less than that, or down payment wise? Yes, of course. Are there times in franchising that sometimes you can get away with a little less than that? Yes, there are. But as a standard, think 20 to 30%. So something that is a $150,000 loan amount, well, again, we're going to need $30,000, $40,000 cash and then the loan. If it's $1 million thing, again, well, I know there's math now involved, but all of a sudden now we're looking at maybe $300,000 cash plus the loan. So just understand that the cash piece that you need is a fraction of the overall investment in a franchise. Okay. So what are some ranges, right? So we talked about the high end stuff. Think standalone brick and mortar, right? Not in a strip mall. Like there's the McDonald's or the restaurant that we've seen that is built out by itself. Yes, that is the piece where people are going to go, man, do you need $1 million? You probably need millions of dollars. Yes, you do for those, right? So a McDonald's, a Taco Bell, think any of the restaurant things that are franchises, those are going to be a couple million. Again, high-end stuff, right? Standalone brick and mortar. Now, when we get the brick and mortar in the what tends to be like in a strip mall, right? So we've got the Target Plaza, and then here's a whole line of things. Probably about 2/3 of those are franchises, even when we don't think of it. It could be food, it could be fitness, health, wellness, beauty. It could be where we, mail something, any number of dry cleaners, any number of things in those strip malls. And again, there's always ranges within the ranges, but think roughly maybe $400,000 to $600,000 as a total investment. Okay, and let's get a little asterisk here on the words total investment, because this is key. And this is one of the things that I'm going to come back to our pals at Google are amazing for a lot of things, not for this. And one of the reasons why is because total investment is the key number we need to focus on. And anybody you're talking to that isn't focused on total investment is not there to help you. So total investment is three things. It's the franchise fee. It's all of the money we need to get the business open on day one. And then it's also going to include somewhere between 3 to 6 months operating capital once you're open. Okay. So again, that is getting you like the rights, it's getting you open, and it's getting you well funded and capitalized to get you through that ramp up phase of the first 3 to 6 months. Depending on franchises, maybe we need a little less than that. Maybe we need a little bit more than that. But just as a general rule, that's kind of what we should be looking at. Okay. So that strip mall, maybe we're in that $500,000 range. Again, if we're doing a loan from that standpoint, right, we may need $100,000 to $150,000 liquid as a general rule for that. Okay. Now, what about all the things that don't require like a brick and mortar retail where your customers are coming to you? These are the things in franchising we tend to not realize are franchises, though they are all around us. It's a good chance you're probably a customer of a franchise and you have no idea it is an actual franchise. These are things, there are probably more of these than there are the true brick and mortar. Everything under what we call home service, which is easily 40 to 50 niches right there. But that is, we don't need a physical space for the customers to come to us because we are taking our product and service to the customer. Those, as a general rule, can be under $250,000 total investment. Sometimes those are the ones that can get in that $100,000 range for this. Again, are there some that can be a tick under there? Yes, there are. But again, I'm just going to kind of use that 100 as a starting point. Okay. Hey, everyone. I wanted to take a quick break from our podcast to tell you about our amazing friends at Entrepreneur. If you're looking to become a franchisee or simply learn more about business ownership, and guys, let's be honest, you're listening to the Franchising 101 podcast, so we know you have some interest in this. And I really encourage you to go to entrepreneur.com to check out all of their great content and resources. Seriously, Entrepreneur has everything, all the way from a bookstore to the best podcasts, webinars, and videos, plus information on upcoming events and the latest articles that seriously, they cover all aspects of franchising and business ownership. If you're having trouble deciding which franchise is right for you, start with Entrepreneur's renowned Franchise 500 ranking, which highlights the best franchises of 2022. For 45 years and counting now, Entrepreneur has been and continues to be the most widely recognized and respected authority in the franchising market. Digital and print subscriptions are available, so you never miss out on anything. So seriously, what are you waiting for? Go to entrepreneur.com right now and learn more.
Uh-oh, the last cookie.
You can get a new box of cookies in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Are you my guilty self-conscience?
No, I'm the voice offering you promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order.
Hey, who ate my cookies?
You mean, these cookies?
Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day. And that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
So those are kind of your ranges with this when you think about, do I need $1 million to invest? Well, maybe, but the answer is no, you don't. There's tons of things that you can do for significantly less for this. The other thing that comes with the money sometimes is, and there's a handful of kind of fallacies and misconceptions and myths. I can never say the word myth with an S at the end. Is that I have to invest more to make more, right? Well, it seems logical, right? Because it's you got to spend money to make money. And yes, you do, but it is not always true that I have to invest more to make more. Okay. So why is that? So let's take use two kind of franchises as an example, and it'd be great if I had examples already planned out before I started talking, but let's take a brick and mortar in a strip mall, let's say a fitness franchise. Okay. And we're going to compare that to a cleaning franchise. I always like cleaning franchises because it's super unsexy. So if you have a fitness studio, you're doing a Pilates studio, and you've got, 14 reformers in this thing, you've got X number of classes that you can have during the day, there is a literal and figurative ceiling on this business. You could only have so many reformers, which means so many people in a class. And there's only so many times of the day you can have classes, right? We're not rolling 2 a.m. classes and 3 a.m. classes and the midnight class, right? There's only so many. So when we get to that capacity, right, is there money to be made in that situation? Absolutely there is. But if we're like, man, let's cram some more reformers in here, or let's do that midnight class, and I'm sure that'll fill up. No, it is time to add a second location at that point. So now whatever that investment was of the first one, we pretty much have to replicate that. It's slightly less for the additional ones, but for the most part, think of that, right? So you're going to invest $500,000 in that fitness studio. When you get to your ceiling, it is time to spend another $500,000 to open up location number 2. Okay. Now, if we have a cleaning franchise, let's say we get to 1% of all of the customers we could have. If we've got a franchise and we've got 50,000 households in our territory, and we get like 100 of those as customers was not even 1%. Is that our ceiling? No, there is literally and figuratively no ceiling. Can we add an additional territory? Yes, but we're nowhere near saturation, right? Like we haven't even gotten to 1% of the households yet. What if we get to 1%? Can we add a second territory at that point? Yes, absolutely. Can we just continue to like deepen our penetration in the market, right? With that. So again, there's no ceiling. So a lesser investment, maybe $150,000, and allows us to continue to build and grow in that one unit. Again, can you and do people oftentimes scale and have multiple? Absolutely, right? But you do not need to invest more to make more. Okay, and then I want to come back to Google. So Google is where we go, right? Or as my wife likes to do now, over to ChatGPT. But we're going somewhere on that good old World Wide Web of information because it's got all the information. You know, how do I find the best, Mexican restaurant near me? How do I what? Helpful for almost all of those things. How do I find the best franchise now? Not going to help you, right? How do I find a franchise in this price range, right? Well, I listened to that old ball guy from FranCoach, and he said, non-brick and mortar things are under $250,000. So franchises under $250,000. I'm going to search that. Well, you're going to get some really, I'm going to say bad information, but that's probably not quite fair. You're going to get very incomplete information. And I always tell the story of, we had somebody a few years ago, was really kind of miffed at us because he had Googled about franchising and was convinced he could own a Subway for $30,000. And like, it took everything in my power. Like I wanted to laugh. I'm like, that's funny. Good one. Right. But he's like, no, I Googled it. It says I have a Subway for $30,000. Literally, he sent me found it and sent it to me. I'm like, well, first of all, it says as low as, right? But $30,000, man, that doesn't get you all the meat and the bread you need to get that started. That's again, brick and mortar, strip mall. That's a $500,000-esque investment with this. But Google said, start a Subway for $30,000, right? And so, well, Google didn't say it. He found it on Google, right? So, get them coming after my ass, right? So it doesn't mean you can't find some information that way. But again, if we're not looking at the right information, this is where we always say with our team at FranCoach, we're here to properly educate you on franchise ownership. You ain't getting a Subway for 30 grand. Okay. Let me just help you with that. You're not getting anything in a strip mall that you are starting from scratch that is going to be $30,000. You're probably not even getting it for $300,000. Maybe on some, but certainly not food, right? And so there are some things out there, but this is where, again, how do you figure all of this out? Well, you use, little old experts like ourselves here at FranCoach that know all of these behind the scenes things that can properly educate you on franchise ownership and then help find you the best franchise to own. So do you need $1 million to invest to own a franchise? Absolutely not. Are there things that are going to be $1 million plus investment? Absolutely. Even when it is that total investment over $1 million, does it have to be in cash? Absolutely not. If you've got it, good for you, right? So, and use it if you want, but typically it's the cash and then a funding option in most cases. But there are things that are, again, significantly less than that. I'm going to always kind of say a starting point and entry point is $100,000 as a total investment. And if you can always just as a general rule, think 20 to 30% of the total investment you need in cash, then we're sitting there at $20,000 to $30,000 that we need to be able to invest in that low end franchise. Okay. From an investment standpoint, just getting something that's $100,000 to $150,000 investment mean I won't make as much money. Absolutely not. And we've told this story before. We had some clients several years back that had owned at one point over 50 Taco Bells, and they had sold them for probably a pretty good chunk of change, right? But they didn't start out with 50 Taco Bells. They didn't even start out with one Taco Bell. They started out with a carpet cleaning franchise. Or business. It was the first thing they did. Just the two of them. They're out there. They were doing everything. Built it, grew it, got a team, started expanding, then got something else, and kept scaling and scaling and scaling. And then they got their first Taco Bell. Well, and then that turned into another and then another, and then turned into 50. So again, even when you start with something, again, I'll use like a carpet cleaning franchise that's going to be in that lower $100,000 to $150,000 total investment. Can you make as much or more money than if you invested $500,000 in a Subway? Absolutely, from just the single unit, because there's no physical or ceiling or literal figurative ceiling on that business. But can you then take that as your starting point and grow and scale and add territories, add something else? Yes, absolutely. So the moral of the story is, as you're sitting there on Thursday, January the 9th, which is my sister's birthday. Happy birthday, Tara. And so when you're sitting here and you're like, okay, this is the first full week back on my job. Yeah, the Christmas break time was great because I didn't have to do a whole bunch here. And now you're back into the grind, wishing for a better life, more control over the life, from all of those things that you're thinking about that got you here. And you're worried about money. It is significantly more attainable to make this happen. And we're going to be able to point you in the right direction for the franchises that fit financially. It's also got to fit everything else, and we're going to build that out too. The other piece is we know the funding companies that all they do are franchise funding. So we'll get you connected. So if you are thinking about this, curious about this, want 2025 to be better than 24, and 23 and 22 and all those other years, let's go. Reach out to our team here at FranCoach, francoach.net, franchising101podcast.net. Either one will get to our team here at FranCoach. There's never, ever any fee for our service. Again, we're here to help properly educate you, figure out if you should own one, and then if so, figure out what is your absolute best franchise to own. So that's everything for today. Also, don't forget Fridays, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on Biz TV. You can catch me and my lovely better half, Danielle, on the Franchising 360 show. What the heck are we talking about? Tomorrow night, labor. Love that topic. So we have some fun going over that. And then we've got, over the next couple of weeks, we've got a couple of guests coming into the podcast. So very excited about that. In fact, next week is our annual Entrepreneur Magazine Franchise 500, and Mr. Jason Pfeiffer will be joining us. So that's next week. Until then, thanks for tuning in, and we will talk with you next week.